You need to go, how you add me in that post? Add Pooh Shiesty too now. Y'all stay adding the Brazy. Go add Pooh.
With the addition of the Brasgo at Pooh Shiesty and HoneyComb Brazy, things took a serious turn, and now everyone is paying close attention. In Mobile, Alabama, HoneyComb Brazy was seen calling out Pooh Shiesty by name and speaking candidly. And what you just heard is music, not a diss tune, not some online back and forth, and most definitely not attention-grabbing industry drama. This goes well beyond music. This person, who has previously experienced significant loss related to street problems, is now standing outside once more, demonstrating the extent of the situation. They are both traveling silently at the moment. And for some reason, the tension in the background is more audible than anything else. There are no posts or replies, just a long wait that leaves people wondering what might happen next. When this is thoroughly dissected, it will become clear how things came to be. Because didn't begin with a song or a post on social media. This dates back a long distance, even before the majority of people were aware of it. In ways that most people are unaware of, has profound roots that connect Memphis, Tennessee, to Mobile, Alabama. Beyond what is immediately apparent, there is history, genuine links, and layers. You have to look at everything behind it, not just what's being said right now, to truly appreciate why that live moment felt different and why HoneyComb's words hit deeper than what you typically hear from performers. You must have the complete picture of these two men. You must add me to that post at Pit29. Keep adding the brass, and let P know as well. You guys think I'm up, so let P know it like that. You're not even a ganja boy. You're falling. You leave the true narrative behind everything, not just the highlights of the song. Born and raised in Mobile, Alabama, HoneyComb Brazy was raised in one of the most difficult neighborhoods on the Gulf Coast. Long before social media became a fad or a tactic, he was sharing details of his life there. He was already sharing his reality since that was the way he lived every day, even before anyone went live for views. His posts, music, and live streaming all depict a way of life that most people only learn about or witness in documentaries. This is not an act, nor is it a camera switch. Because that's all he knows, he has never changed. However, there is something far more profound that sets HoneyComb apart from other artists working in related fields. This person has previously gone through a degree of personal loss that permanently alters you. Not in a legal sense, but in a way that emotionally and psychologically resonates with music. Many people who were paying attention were shocked when HoneyComb Brazy's grandparents, Tony and Leah Lewis, died in their Mobile, Alabama, home back in February 2021. Reports linked the incident to a person named Darren Southall, and it was thought that the incident was intended to convey a message to HoneyComb via his family. Numerous loud noises were heard during the incident, and the impact caused the home's stored oxygen tanks to burst, resulting in a catastrophic fire that made matters worse. Tony and Leah Lewis were not able to escape as the house was rapidly overrun by flames. What is said to have started the entire scenario is even more startling. A post on Facebook. When someone with ties to HoneyComb shared anything, it upset the wrong person, and things got out of control. Two old folks who had nothing to do with it died as a result. HoneyComb is currently standing on the basis of that agonizing reality. Losses like that don't simply go away. It stays with you and permanently changes the way you walk. Therefore, when you hear him talking during that live performance and HoneyComb says he's prepared to stand on what he's claiming, that's not just someone talking tough to get attention. That's a man who has already witnessed the worst outcome firsthand, who has experienced profound personal loss, and who still decides not to back down. Remember it going forward because it alters the sound of every word from that point on. When you know what's behind it, it hits differently. I'm moving on to Pooh Shiesty now. He was born in South Memphis and rose to prominence as one of the city's most talked about musicians in recent years. He collaborated with Gucci Mane under 1017 Records, releasing hits like Guard Up and Back in Blood. More quickly than most people anticipated, he went from local buzz to huge success. Memphis has long had a rich musical heritage, but Pooh simultaneously had a unique blend, real-life credibility, and broad popularity. Subsequently, his pace was slowed down by legal concerns music. After serving his sentence, he eventually went back to his house. Now concentrated on rebuilding, releasing new music, re-establishing contact with supporters, and attempting to replenish the energy that was disrupted during the process. From the outside, he appears to be someone who is totally committed to moving forward, prioritizing his work over everything else and remaining focused on what comes next. However, when he stands on a block in Mobile, Alabama, HoneyComb Brazy begins to say his name. And suddenly everything is different. This is the bit that practically everyone discussing this is omitting. This didn't begin with a nasty online post, a cunning lyric, or even a diss track. This song is far more than just amusement. This predicament stems from long-standing ties that, long before either of these musicians had agreements or widespread recognition, connected Memphis street circles to sections of Alabama. Many individuals believe that Mobile and Memphis are entirely different places. No overlap, distinct states, distinct vibrations. However, it isn't how the South actually operates. Relationships, a common past, people moving, and overlapping circles that organically link over time, whether intentionally or not, tie these cities together. Artists have similar upbringings, cross paths, and ultimately become musicians connected through business dealings, shared contacts, and prior circumstances that most outsiders are unaware of. HoneyComb Brazy was already dealing with a number of people who were involved in circles in Memphis, some of which overlapped with Pooh Shiesty's milieu. And there's more to this than just rivalry in the music industry. If your people are having problems with someone in that world music, you will inevitably inherit that tension as well. When your circle gets involved, the decision is already decided before you ever speak, so there's no taking a step back and saying, "That's not my problem." Memphis is not seen as a neutral ground in the sector where HoneyComb is already operating. Then you add from Pooh Shiesty. More significantly, you bring in a Big 30 member who is close to him. Big 30 is more than just their musical collaborators. Long before any deals or notoriety were involved, they both claim to be like brothers. One is linked to the other wherever travels. They have a strong sense of loyalty, and that's just the way things work in their context. This is when the connections become even more apparent. When Big 30 was traveling from Memphis to Birmingham, Alabama, in October 2020, there was a legal issue. According to sources, the car was stopped and goods were discovered inside. Birmingham is Alabama, but it's not Mobile. And that particular aspect is more important than most people realize in the larger picture of how these regional linkages operate. It demonstrates that a person with a close connection to Pooh Shiesty has traveled through that state in the past. And because of the way their rings function, that kind of link implies deeper involvement, whether or not it was deliberate. It's not always about taking direct action. Sometimes it's just song about the people you're connected to and the extent of those connections. The Big 30's known presence in Alabama, HoneyComb's past problems with Memphis-connected circles, and his tight relationship with Pooh Shiesty all come together to produce a clear image. It becomes clear that these two were destined to meet paths at some point when you consider the overlapping networks between Memphis and Mobile that have been developing for years. At this point, the stress in the plot shifts from behind the scenes to nearly unbelievable. Are you prepared for this? Because nobody anticipated what thrust everything into the public eye. According to reports, it began with a video game. There are rumors that someone from Pooh Shiesty's side met HoneyComb Brazy online, defeated him in the game, and then went so far as to publicly make fun of him for it. Yes, it initially sounds crazy. All of this is the result of a video game, but you have to understand how they see the world. Such moments aren't always viewed as innocent fun, particularly when they take place in public. It could be interpreted as a sign of contempt, similar to someone trying to gauge your reaction with music. It's like when someone makes fun of you in front of a group of people and then laughs about it. Regardless of how severe it is, it conveys a message. Furthermore, HoneyComb Brazy is not renowned for disregarding this type of energy. He then went live while standing outside, and you could immediately hear it in his voice. It wasn't just for show. This person wasn't trying to get attention. This person made it obvious where he stands by speaking with genuine emotion. He said, "Y'all are supposed to be going up right now during the live performance. You guys must think I'm a joke. You have everything in the world, and you're criticizing my people in a video game, but you don't do the same in real life. That seemed like a clear statement. Every time I say something, y'all go up on Brazy, HoneyComb said. HoneyComb was drawing a line in public and challenging the other side to respond. But then the live took a turn that hit even deeper because he stopped focusing on Pooh Shiesty's side and started calling out his own city, Mobile, Alabama, and the people around him. This is where the weight of everything really shows up. You won't go with Pooh, but you only want to go with me. You guys don't pop it back, and you're letting out-of-towners come play with Alabama like that. Some hoes, y'all. That seems like someone who is immediately disappointed by his own people. It's more than just frustration. It's a sense that support isn't available when it counts most. When you consider how emotions function in high-stress situations like this, that kind of thinking can be dangerous because it's no longer just about problems with Pooh Shiesty. When pressure comes from both the outside and the inside at the same time, it builds quickly. Toward the end of that life, he said something that truly caused people to pause. It becomes about loyalty, about whether his own city stands with him or not. It raises bigger questions in his mind about everything he's been through and what it all means to the people around him. He claimed that he was fully committed to his beliefs and prepared to deal with any consequences that may arise. This is the point at which everything begins to tighten up because once statements like those are spoken in public, they cannot be taken back. That life didn't simply stay between a select few. It quickly gained popularity, reaching fans, other musicians, and individuals associated with both sides. Now, the pressure changes once. More because when something like goes viral, it creates expectations. People begin to watch closely, waiting to see who responds, who remains silent, and what happens next. On one side, you have HoneyComb Brazy speaking candidly, putting his emotions out there for everyone to see. However, Pooh Shiesty has remained silent, at least in public, and that silence is making people read into everything even more. Some interpret this as him remaining focused and not contributing to the situation, while others see it as an impending response. In either case, the silence is escalating an already tense situation. Fans and people on the internet are also picking sides, replaying videos, analyzing every word, and adding their own opinions to the mix. This kind of attention can push things further because it's not just personal anymore, it's public pressure building in real time. The truth is that situations like this don't just stay in one lane. Music, personal history, outside voices, and online reactions all start blending together, making everything more complicated than it already is. Even with this knowledge, he was still standing outside on leave, making it obvious that he wasn't backing down. That's not someone merely talking for attention. That's someone who seems to have already accepted how far things could go and is still standing firm on what he's saying. Some people understand better than anyone how quickly situations like this can move beyond the internet and turn into something much more serious in real life. HoneyComb mentioned El Dio during that stream, and for those who are familiar with Mobile's local dynamics, that name carries weight. This is where people really started paying attention and connecting details, and you've got to follow this closely because it goes way deeper than just a moment on live. That's not something that's thrown out there at random. It points to organizations and affiliations with real history and real ties in that area. Bringing that up while also calling out people connected to the Pooh Shiesty circle suggests that this situation may involve more than just two people. It begins to hint at deeper alliances, wider connections, and layers that go beyond music. This is where it becomes more complex because you're looking at networks, long-standing relationships, and territorial ties that have existed long before any fame, he said immediately after discussing showing up and standing on business, which alters how people perceive it. That doesn't sound like a straightforward tribute. It sounds more like coded language, like he's communicating how he and his circle function, regardless of the repercussions. Since everyone who is familiar with the culture is aware of the backstory of Pop Smoke, bringing that name into this situation carries weight. HoneyComb Brazy made it very clear during that live performance that this isn't about music at all, which is another part that really stood out and should have drawn more attention. It doesn't just land as respect, it feels like a message being sent without saying everything directly. "I'm not riding with y'all," he declared. Brazen has nothing to do with that Alabama trash music. I'm on my own path. This isn't smoke from rap. That eliminates any doubt. You have to take it seriously when someone with a platform, a fan base, and genuine opportunities makes it apparent that this isn't about music because it indicates that a song, a response track, or behind-the-scenes talks in the industry won't resolve the issue. It suggests something more profound than just amusement. And such circumstances usually take an entirely different turn. One that, unlike music drama, does not unfold on social media. However, there are alternative perspectives on this. Situations like this typically don't just go unnoticed in some settings. Pushy failed to rise to his level, endure what he did, and return to his priorities by ignoring things that are important to him. Therefore, quiet may not indicate a tranquil situation. It might also indicate that he is making the decision to proceed cautiously, considering his options and delaying public reactions. What is the current state of affairs? HoneyComb Brazy hasn't taken any steps back. He hasn't changed his mind, modified his position, or taken any public action to resolve the issue. He stood outside, clearly marked his place with music, displayed it for everyone to see, and left it there. Usually, someone searching for a way out would have shown it by now, but that's not what he's doing here. Conversely, Pooh Shiesty has persisted in migrating with the intention of rebuilding. After being absent for a while, he has been re-establishing his momentum, engaging with fans, and putting musical energy into his work. From the outside, it appears to be a wise strategy, like someone choosing long-term success over being drawn into conflict. However, this is the point at which it becomes complex. HoneyComb has a different perspective on that quiet. It can be perceived as completely avoiding the issue rather than as a sign of peace. Furthermore, that form of view does not reduce pressure in the environments from which they originate. Over time, it accumulates. Every day, without resolution or clarity, can intensify the situation. People were completely divided. Some people firmly supported Brazy. Others thought he was going in the wrong direction. Then there was music for those who remained silent and saw things from a distance. While others on the internet saw the entire situation as amusement, those with ties to Memphis and the 107 Circle appeared vigilant but did not intervene. However, this is more than just conversation beneath all that noise music. It depicts actual people making important choices about their position in actual cities. One of the most underappreciated aspects of that life was something HoneyComb said in an almost casual manner, but it had deep significance. He claimed that his only goal was to unite his city. He approached all of this with that mindset. He wasn't trying to cause trouble with his songs. While attempting to construct something constructive, he felt disrespected. Rather than songs of encouragement, he felt ridiculed. And now have a look at the outcome. Someone who is using music to promote harmony is now embroiled in social media-driven public unrest. Music that also has a deeper level, especially in light of all that he has already experienced. Problems might be exacerbated by the same music outlets that bring people together. And when you give it some serious thought, it's difficult to overlook that contrast. Now, take a step back and consider the music's larger picture, as this is only one instance of a broader cultural phenomenon that is currently taking place. HoneyComb Music Brazy's grandparents passed away as a result of a Facebook post. It wasn't music or a song. It was just something that was shared online, got to the wrong person, and got out of hand. More than most people, HoneyComb is aware of what might occur when remarks made online influence real-world circumstances. Music he has previously experienced the kind of result that people wish would never occur. And now here we are, witnessing him return in real time in yet another public altercation that began with something as trivial as a video game. That speaks volumes about the surrounding environment. In public music venues where attention is crucial, the contemporary culture encourages people to react, demonstrate their worth, and maintain their composure. Because it's not always considered the best course of action to back off once something has unfolded in front of everyone. It can be misinterpreted in some circles, and that pressure makes things more difficult to deal with. These two men are now in a challenging situation. Because he felt disrespected in public, HoneyComb went music public. Now, Pooh Shiesty must determine how to react, if at all, while music is intently observing. It's not an easy problem to solve. Every action attracts attention, opinions, and reactions, and music has the power to go beyond what is intended. And that's why everything feels so stressful at the moment. There isn't a single, obvious way to satisfy everyone. And because of this uncertainty, people are confined to music, waiting to see what will happen next. The fact that HoneyComb Brazy isn't renowned for performing is one thing that sticks out. His past experiences are genuine, and they have influenced his reaction to such circumstances. Additionally, Pooh Shiesty hails from Memphis, a city renowned for creating musicians who remain resilient under duress, music, which further complicates the potential course of events. Therefore, regardless of how this situation develops, keep in mind that it has nothing to do with music numbers, views, music, or internet attention. Beyond social media, each of these men has significant stakes. Furthermore, neither side appears prepared to take a step back music initially at this time. Nobody wants to be perceived as the one who gave in, which is why everything feels so tense. What comes next then? In the optimal situation, someone with genuine respect and influence intervenes behind the scenes in music. Someone who can have a genuine conversation away from cameras and timelines is someone who both parties truly listen to. Because when the appropriate people are involved and pride is set aside, problems like these may be resolved amicably. It has occurred in the past and can occur once more if the proper music approach is taken. However, if that doesn't work out, things could take a far more severe turn. Music, it doesn't need to be explained because the majority of people already know what that means. Music, particularly if you've been keeping up with everything, including the previous defeats, the house fire, the social media post claiming that music started it all, the links to Alabama, and the various groups that music was referenced. This is obviously more than simply conversation at that point. If it continues to worsen, there may be repercussions in real life. Music, one thing that is certain is that HoneyComb Brazy isn't performing to get attention. This has nothing to do with viral moments or algorithms. After going through situations that would transform anyone, this person is steadfast in his belief in music. And that's why it's so difficult to ignore this music scenario at the moment. It goes beyond what is being said. It's music about the unsaid. Because depending on how you interpret it, silence can have many different meanings. It may indicate that someone is maintaining concentration, acting strategically, and deciding not to respond in public. Alternatively, it can indicate that something is developing in the background that people aren't yet aware of. Simultaneously, the spotlight continues to grow. Every post, video, and response increases attention, and that kind of pressure can cause music to go in unexpected directions. What began as a little issue is now being closely monitored from every direction. Fans, reviewers, musicians, and those with ties to both sides are all keeping an eye on things and attempting to read every move. Additionally, things get more unexpected the longer they remain unsolved. Because people begin to anticipate something to happen in order to defuse tension when there is no obvious conclusion. Both parties are now maintaining their positions. One is outspoken and straightforward, while the other is quiet and subdued. Because no one knows which strategy will determine what occurs next, that contrast is what has everyone locked in. Furthermore, Pooh Shiesty's reckless movements did not elevate him to his level. Music, he simply doesn't work like that. Therefore, whatever is happening behind the scenes at the moment is undoubtedly significant. It's not necessarily a sign of peace when someone in his position remains silent. Sometimes simply indicates that things are being handled differently away from the spotlight. The next action taken by either party will reveal a lot about the future of this scenario, which is still ongoing and evolving. Therefore, remain vigilant, keep locked in, and most importantly, hope that this can be resolved amicably before it escalates into something more dangerous. Because all of this ultimately relates to real lives and real people. Click the like button if my explanation made everything clearer to you. Stay tuned and subscribe if you're new. There will be more releases on a regular basis, and the conversation is constantly lively. And I'd like to hear from you. What do you suppose will happen next? Does this issue get resolved, or does it continue to worsen? What does Pooh Shiesty's silence mean to you? Is he maintaining his concentration, or is there more going on in the background? Music, please share your opinions in the comments.